have any kind of regular email newsletter to clients or candidates you already have a business relationship with? If so, how often should you send it? Like a newsletter that has a combination of industry news, events, along with some job listings. I don't, and I feel like there's an element of that that only works well if you're Oprah. By which I mean there are people out there who can generate such good positive content. And you're like, do we have a blog and stuff like that? Sure. But there's blog postings out there that we've never sent an email about. We've never drawn attention to it. They're out there. And that gives somebody who is researching us and wants to know a little bit more about our methodology, they have a sense of that. But I'm not going to push content on people because I know that there's very few newsletters that any of you get that you consider must-reads.
Can I ask the question for those of you, and I know I'm going to blow up chat here for a moment, and I'm actually going to just put this in here as newsletter. Can you guys come into chat and tell me, do you have any newsletters that when the newsletter comes in, you stop what you're doing and read it? Like you're like, oh, I'm so glad this newsletter came in. I'm excited. I'm going to read it right now. Does anybody have something like that you're just really excited about when it comes in? Okay, so Lee, every single person is coming in and saying no. Nobody has that. And so I think, you know what? I do too. That is my favorite newsletter, Lee. It's called Recruiting Brain Food.
Right. So what he commented in there was, I like recruiting brain food. Right, and this is it. This is that idea of most people are saying no because we're not Oprah. We're not Disney or Lucasfilm or anyone else that if the new stuff is coming out, there's a new Marvel movie, we're going to go and rush and see it. If you don't have that kind of marketing brand value yourself, where people feel the need to open your newsletter because it's always so great, then all you're doing is, throwing smoke into the room.
Right. So I'm going to tell you guys a very quick story about a newsletter that is awesome. So we had a student of ours who I am terribly fond of. And
he might even be in right now.
I don't know if he's here or not.
There's so many on right now still, and we appreciate you staying with us.
Right.
With so many questions coming through. I know we haven't gotten to them all, but yeah, we have somebody that sent a newsletter with a typo.
So we get all your newsletters. Like everybody we teach, you guys all add us to your list, and I will tell you pointedly, I delete them all. I don't read a single one of them. But I got one, a newsletter, recruiting newsletter, and I deleted it, as I always do. And then I got another email immediately following from this gentleman who, like I said, is a student and I'm very fond of. And it said, my apologies for the typo in the first line of the email, or first line of my newsletter. I meant to say the shift in the economy.
Well, of course, now we are crying.
Laughing so hard.
Let's dig that out of trash and see what it really says if it's not shift. And it did say what you think it said.
So the first line of his newsletter went out and it was talking about the shit in the economy. Now, we're dying over here. Jason and I'm like, you've got to pull up this newsletter and look at it. So
I'm reading this. I'm like, oh, you got to call him because he feels terrible right now. You got to tell him how good this is, that he made a mistake because he's going to have a huge day.
So I called him and I'm like, are you freaking out? He's like, I'm freaking out. I sent this to thousands of people. I'm like, all right, take a deep breath, okay? Because this is beautiful. You are going to get so many people that have never read your newsletter. Now they're going to actually read it. And it's a great thing. Do you remember the numbers of what he got? I don't remember the numbers.
I feel like it was around 350 people reached out to him that day.
350 people in a day reached out to him. Now, here's the deal though. You cannot do this on purpose. You can't. There's enough, deceit in our industry. There's enough bad tactics. There, frankly, are enough liars. Don't be one of them. Okay, so you cannot do it on purpose, but when you make a mistake, own it. Own that. It was beautiful.
So I don't watch the Super Bowl in general, and I know some of you are scrunching your face a little bit at me just for admitting that. But I don't watch the Super Bowl. I don't watch the halftime show. I don't even always watch all the commercials. It's not my thing. But when there's a screw up in the halftime show, I will see it in the news. I'll hear about it. I will certainly go and watch that halftime show. And what we're saying is don't purposely rip off Janet Jackson's top, but know that when it happens and you have that screw up, that something positive could come of it. Like, we all still remember exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't know. We could have some younger recruiters that
it's probably like 15 years ago.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.